The myth of Mimir, the importance of wisdom and knowledge. Mimir is one of the most mysterious and powerful beings in Scandinavian mythology. He truly held a unique position among all beings associated with wisdom and knowledge. His name, derived from the Old Norse word Mimir, indicates the deep roots of this figure in Viking culture. The word Mimir can mean both memory and wisdom, emphasizing Mimir's dual nature. He was not just a bearer of knowledge, but also its guardian, able to pass this knowledge down through the ages. The history of Mimir is closely connected with the creation of the world and the appearance of the first people. According to myths, Mimir was one of those who were present at the birth of the universe. His origins go back to the very beginning of time, when the world was still forming out of chaos. Mimir was born in Jotunheim, one of the 9 worlds of the Scandinavian cosmogony, home to the Jotuns, powerful and ancient beings of immense power and knowledge. Bolthorn, Mimir's father, was one of the oldest and most respected Jotuns who inhabited Jotunheim. His name, translated as aching or strong, spoke of his immense power and influence in the Jotun world. Bolthorn was a descendant of the primordial giant Ymir, the first living creature to emerge from the icy waters of Ginnungagap, the great abyss that existed before the beginning of time. Ymir was born from the collision of the fiery Muspelheim and the icy Niflheim, 2 opposing worlds whose elements met at the center of Ginnungagap. From this interaction, something new was formed, a giant being full of energy and power. Ymir became the progenitor of all the Jotuns, including Bolthorn and, by extension, Mimir. The Jotuns, or Jotuns in Germanic Scandinavian mythology, are giants who are descended from the primordial giant Ymir. They lived in Jotunheim and Niflheim, and were characterized by their strength and stature. The Jotuns were considered adversaries of the Aesir and humans, seeking to capture their wives and magical paraphernalia such as Thor's hammer and Idun's milk apples. Despite their primitive nature, some of the Jotuns possessed ancient wisdom. In later legends, Jotuns became associated with trolls. One of the main roles of the Jotuns is their constant confrontation with the Aesir, the gods of order and civilization. The Jotuns represent wildness and unbridled nature, while the Aesir strive to establish and maintain order. This opposition is manifested in the many conflicts and battles between the two groups. The Jotuns are associated with natural phenomena and the elements. They can control wind, fire, water, and earth, and their power often exceeds that of the Aes. This makes them dangerous and unpredictable opponents. At the end of time, according to the prophecies, the Jotuns will take part in the final battle, Ragnarok. In this battle, they will fight against the Aesir, and most of the combatants will die, leading to the end of the Old World and the beginning of a new cycle of existence. Despite the hostility, there are complex family and kinship ties between the Aesir and Jotuns. For example, Loki, the famous trickster, is the son of Jotun Farbauti and Lafa Lauvea. Such ties add depth and complexity to the relationship between these two groups. Thus, Mimir inherited not only the physical strength and endurance of his ancestors, but also a deep instinct for understanding the nature of things. These qualities were passed down to him through the blood and spirit of his ancestors, starting with Ymir himself. Being part of an ancient lineage, Mimir absorbed the knowledge and experience of generations, allowing him to become one of the wisest creatures in the world. From birth, Mimir displayed unusual abilities. He easily assimilated information, analyzed complex situations and found solutions, where others saw a dead end. His innate intuition, knowledge of the past, present, and future, and ability to see hidden connections between phenomena made him an indispensable advisor to the gods and other beings. One of the key aspects of Mimir's image is his head, which has become a legendary symbol of wisdom and prophecies. The story of this begins with a tragic event. The first war between the Van and the Aesir was one of the key events in Scandinavian mythology. The cause of the conflict was a disagreement between 2 groups of gods over power and influence. The Vans, known for their magical powers and fertility, considered themselves equal to the Aesir, but the latter sought to assert their dominance over all worlds. Mimir played an important role in this conflict. He was sent by the Asami to the Van as a diplomatic envoy in an attempt to find a peaceful resolution to the dispute. However, negotiations failed and war broke out. During the fighting, Mimir remained neutral, continuing to offer his services as an advisor to both sides. After much fighting, the parties came to a ceasefire and agreed to make peace. As a sign of reconciliation, it was decided to exchange hostages. The Ases sent Honir, Odin's brother, to the Van. When Honir arrived at the Van, they expected him to have the same qualities as the other Aes: wisdom, courage, and the ability to make important decisions. However, Honir found himself completely helpless without Mimir. He could offer no solutions and always waited for a clue from Mimir before making any move. The Vans quickly realized that Honir without Mimir was an empty shell, unable to function as a leader or advisor. They began to suspect that the Aesians had deliberately deceived them, sending them a weak and unnecessary hostage instead of someone truly useful. Angry and frustrated, the Baths decided to eliminate the cause of the problem. They destroyed Mimir by cutting off his head, believing that in this way they would deprive Honir of all support and show the Ases that they would not tolerate such deceit. But even after his death, Mimir continued to serve the world of gods. The supreme god Odin, realizing the value of Mimir's wisdom, did not let it disappear with his body. He took Mimir's head and, using magic herbs and spells, revived it, turning it into an eternal source of knowledge and prophecies. With the help of magic, Odin made it so that Mimir's head could continue to speak and share its innermost knowledge. This act of resurrecting Mimir's head symbolizes the incessant struggle for wisdom and the pursuit of knowledge despite any obstacles. For Odin, the supreme god of the Aesir, this moment became especially important, for it was then that he decided to make one of the greatest sacrifices of his life. Mimir's connection with the great tree Yggdrasil is also of great significance. This tree, also called the World Tree, was the center of all things, connecting the 9 worlds of Scandinavian mythology. At the roots of Yggdrasil were 3 sacred springs: Urdarbrunn, Mimisbrunn, and Vergelmir. It was from Mimir's source, Mimisbrunn, that the giant drew his knowledge and wisdom. The water of this spring was so pure and filled with magical power that everyone who drank from it gained the ability to see the future and understand the past. Thus, Mimir became not only a keeper of knowledge, but also a link between the world of gods and the world of men. His wisdom and understanding allowed him to play an important role in the development of human civilization, passing on knowledge and instructions to new generations. According to legend, Odin wanted to gain access to the source of Mimir, located under the root of the world tree Yggdrasil. This source was surrounded by deep secrecy and was inaccessible to most mortals and even too many gods. Only a select few had access to it. To prove his right to receive knowledge, Odin agreed to sacrifice his right eye. This act shows Odin's willingness to go to extreme lengths to acquire wisdom, which he considered an essential tool of power and strength. When Odin finally reached the source of Mimir and drank from it, he gained not only new knowledge, but also the ability to hear the voice of Mimir's head itself, which now served as his guide to the world of the mysterious and unknown. Through this union, Odin was able to greatly expand his knowledge and strengthen his position as the supreme ruler of Asgard. Thanks to his wisdom and knowledge, Mimir was able to predict the coming of Ragnarok, the final battle in which the Aesir and Jotuns would meet in mortal combat. He warned Odin of the approaching end and gave advice on how to prepare for this event. Mimir symbolizes the end of the old world and the beginning of the new. His wisdom and knowledge help us realize that even the strongest and most powerful beings cannot escape their fate. Ragnarok is the inevitable end of one cycle and the beginning of another, and Mimir plays an important role in this transition. After the end of Ragnarok and the demise of most of the gods and Jotuns, the world will be reborn anew. Some sources indicate that Mimir may play a role in the restoration of the world, as his knowledge and wisdom will help new generations to start a new life. The Eye of Odin, resting in the source of Mimir, is the subject of numerous interpretations in Scandinavian mythology. Each of them reveals different aspects of the symbolism and meaning of this element of the mythological plot. One interpretation says that the eye of Odin replaces the horn, Gjallarhorn, which was used for drinking. This symbolizes the transformation of the physical organ into an instrument for spiritual satiation. The eye, immersed in the spring, becomes the receptacle of wisdom and knowledge that Odin can draw from there. Another interpretation suggests that the pledged eye allows Odinu to see into the netherworld. The source of Mimir is seen as a portal or entrance to another world, and the eye placed there gives Odinu the ability to observe events occurring in this world. This enhances his ability to foresee and understand hidden processes. The third interpretation asserts that in the waters of the spring are hidden prototypes of future events. Odin's immersed eye is able to see these images, which gives him the ability for supernatural vision or foresight. This explains why Odin is considered one of the wisest and far-sighted gods in Scandinavian mythology. All these interpretations emphasize the multiple meanings and complexity of the symbolism associated with the Eye of Odin and the source of Mimir. Each of these approaches opens new facets of understanding the role of Odin as the supreme god and guardian of wisdom, and emphasizes the importance of sacrifice and the search for knowledge. After the end of Mimir, his head really acquired the status of a symbol of wisdom and predictions. It became a valuable source of knowledge for Odin, the supreme god of the Assis, who sought to learn as much as possible about the world and destiny. Mimir's head contained deep experience and knowledge accumulated over the long years of his life, and so Odin turned to it at times when he needed wise counsel and insight. One of the vivid examples of Odin's appeal to Mimir's head is the episode described in the poem The Speeches of Vafthrûdnir. Before the duel with the giant Vafthrûdnir, Odin knew that this duel would not be easy as Vafthrûdnir was famous for his wisdom and strength. Therefore, Odin turned to Mimir's head, hoping to gain valuable advice and predictions that would help him in the upcoming challenge. In addition, Mimir's head gave Odinu specific advice regarding the duel with Vafthrûdnir. It told him the questions to ask the giant to test his knowledge and find his weaknesses. Thanks to this advice, Odin was able to defeat Vafthrûdnir in the duel and strengthen his reputation as the wisest and most powerful of the Assis. Thus, Mimir became not just a guardian of knowledge, but a symbol of the eternal struggle for truth and wisdom. His head, brought to life through Odin magic, continues to remind everyone of the importance of the search for truth and the willingness to make sacrifices to find it. Mimir is one of the most enigmatic and important characters in Scandinavian mythology. His association with wisdom, knowledge, and prophecy makes him an indispensable element in the story of the creation of the world and the fate of the gods. The legend of Mimir reminds us of the value of knowledge and the need to sacrifice something valuable to achieve great goals.